Hey folks, hope you're having a great Saturday so far. As always, on Saturdays I talk about an episode of an animated superhero television series, and today I'm here to talk about an episode of Batman the Animated Series titled Joker's Wild. If you have not seen the episode, or you have but it's been quite a while, then go watch the episode once again before I start spoiling stuff. And if you don't want to do that, then maybe you can allow my review to refresh your memory on what went down. But there will be spoilers, so don't say that I didn't warn you. We begin in Arkham Asylum, where, I'll be darned, the prisoners are actually wearing prison uniforms. The last time that we were here, in Dreams in Darkness, for some idiot reason, prisoners like Poison Ivy were allowed to wear their supervillain costumes. Anyway, the Joker is pestering Poison Ivy, and they both are watching TV. The Joker is, shall we say, dismayed at an announcement that a Gotham businessman, Cameron Kaiser, has opened a casino using the likeness of the Joker. Kaiser says that it's just a coincidence and that he's just using the likeness of the playing card motif, but it's pretty clear that that's a barefaced lie. The Joker escapes from Arkham, and if I'm being honest, this escape lacks a lot of the panache of his escape in Christmas with the Joker. But I guess they can't all be winners. Anyway, from this point on, the story basically happens in exactly the way that you would think. Batman is investigating the casino because, like Joker, he doesn't buy that it just happens to be using the likeness of a typical standard clown. And Joker is coming to the casino to blow it all to high heaven, killing Cameron Kaiser in the process. Batman realizes that Kaiser went broke in creating this casino, and at the very last minute made the whole thing Joker-themed, hoping to draw out the Joker. Kaiser hopes that the Joker will be angry enough to destroy the casino, and then he will be able to collect the insurance money and will no longer be broke from building the casino in the first place. Batman is able to convince Joker not to blow up the casino, but Joker still tries to kill Kaiser, and Batman is able to save Kaiser's life, sending him to jail and Joker back to Arkham. Cue credits. This episode is pretty darn enjoyable. The plot that Batman and Joker are separately trying to get to the bottom of is simple enough that it isn't needlessly complicated just to try and fool the audience, but it's clever enough that, at least on my end, I did not see it coming. This harkens back to a phrase that my creative writing professor used to spout quite often when I was in college. Keep it simple, stupid. Just because a story is simple does not mean that it is somehow inferior to a more complicated story. Usually, not all the time, but usually, when a storyteller tries to make things more complicated, that way leads to plot holes that only exist because the story is being made more complicated. When you have a simple, straightforward story, such as dude wants to lure someone into destroying his casino so that he can collect the insurance money, it is very easy to see exactly where each of your characters stand in this story. But the more complicated you try to make things, the harder it is to tell where each of your characters stand. For a prime example of this, watch the middle two Pirates of the Caribbean movies. Now, even though the plot here is straightforward, I was still surprised that this episode went there. Collecting insurance money isn't usually something that you see featured in a cartoon aimed at children, and I guess that's one of the more noteworthy things of this series. It is absolutely appropriate for children, but it doesn't talk down to them, and in fact, when it has an opportunity to, it can even be aimed at teenagers and adults as well. Ordinarily, a plot where a guy is hoping someone destroys his business so that he can collect on the insurance money, that's something that you would see in a story for air quotes grown-ups. But this episode makes it work, and again, it doesn't make things too complicated. I dare say if I was a kid, this episode would have made plenty of sense to me, even though I would not have understood the ins and outs of insurance fraud back then. Heck, I still don't understand the ins and outs of insurance fraud, but this episode explains what needs to be explained, and doesn't bog the episode down with stuff that isn't necessary for the narrative. Though there is quite a bit about this episode to enjoy, there were some things that I felt could have been done better, or perhaps should have just been done differently altogether. Firstly, one thing that I've complained about in previous episodes is that sometimes we are lacking a real and clear protagonist to follow for the duration of the episode, and this episode suffers that, I think. For what seems like half of the episode, we're following the Joker, and it almost seems like this is going to be one of those really strange and unique episodes where Batman barely features in the episode at all. But then by the time Joker is out of Arkham, we're back to following Batman for the rest of the episode. And unfortunately, neither of these guys go through any kind of character arc in this episode. Now, of course, the Joker is psychotic, so it can't really be expected for him to learn a lesson at the end of the episode. And quite often, Batman is an incredibly static character, and usually doesn't go through some kind of lesson either. But that doesn't excuse this episode for ignoring what is a fairly important staple of telling a fictional story of some kind. And I think in addition to this episode splitting its time between two characters who are not really ideal for going through a character arc of some kind, another problem is that we just spend too much time with the Joker in the beginning. I think we could have spent half that time with the Joker and still gotten the idea that Joker finds out about the casino and escapes. By the time we finally get to Batman, we've spent so much time with the Joker that I actually thought we were going to have a team-up story where Batman and Joker work together to uncover what's going on at the casino. Now, I'm glad we didn't get that story because there are certain lines that you just don't cross, and Batman's line would definitely include working with the Joker. But the episode definitely spends so much time with the Joker that I thought surely there had to be more to it than what we got. So I think this episode would have benefited in a few ways from cutting down the Joker time at the beginning of the episode. There was one thing I thought was odd, and I'm not sure if I'm nitpicking or if it's a legitimate problem with the episode. During the escape sequence from Arkham, a security guard took Joker to the infirmary because Joker was pretending that he was sick. Then when Joker thinks the guy is out of earshot, he calls him a maroon as he makes his getaway. Then we see the security guard. He clearly heard the Joker call him that, and he says, "I know you are, but what am I?" And then he does nothing to prevent the Joker from escaping. I was really confused about this. Was this guy on the take? Like, was Cameron Kaiser paying all of the Arkham guards some extra money to look the other way when Joker escaped, also that he can make very sure that Joker would come and destroy his casino? When I reviewed Christmas with the Joker, I commended the episode for slyly letting us know that corruption was a thing that existed in this world without feeling the need to spell it out for us. And while I liked it there, I do wish we could have had it just spelled out a little bit more for us here. Either that or not shoved in our face like it was. Either straight up tell us that this guard is on the take and he wanted Joker to escape, or don't include the "I know you are, but what am I" line that befuddles the whole issue. Really, I like this episode quite a bit. In the series Bible that the creators put together when they were pitching this series, one thing that was mentioned was that not every episode has to be a standard good guy fights bad guy plot. And while this episode does heavily feature the Joker, I think they were keeping that in mind when they were making this episode. The source of conflict for this episode is really just some nobody in a suit causing trouble for Batman and Joker. I like that the episode tries to do something different, even if I did not like everything about it. And those are my thoughts on this episode, guys. Hope that you liked this episode and this review, and if you did, then next week I will be doing a similar review for an episode of Batman Beyond. And the weekend after that, I will be talking about another episode of Batman the Animated Series. And throughout the week, I'm talking about other kinds of things. And if you did like this video, then be sure to like, share, comment, and subscribe. And in the meantime, I hope you guys have a great rest of the day. Catch you later.